The town of Duskirk was old, older than time, some said. It huddled under a perpetual cloak of mist, its houses leaning against one another as if seeking comfort from a shared secret. And at the edge of town, shrouded in overgrown ivy and whispered tales, stood Duskirk Manor. It had stood empty for as long as anyone could remember. Locals told stories of a family cursed, of strange lights and chilling screams echoing from within its decaying walls. No one dared to venture near after dark. No one except, of course, for the group of friends foolish enough to believe they were immune to the whispers of Duskirk.
Come on, you guys. It's just an old house. What's the worst that could happen?
It was a night like any other in Duskirk, cold, damp and shrouded in an unnatural stillness. The wind howled like a banshee in the distance, but within the town itself not a leaf stirred. Inside the warm glow of the local coffee shop, 4 friends huddled around a flickering candle, their laughter a stark contrast to the eerie silence outside. There was Liam, the self-proclaimed leader, his eyes gleaming with a reckless sense of adventure. Next to him sat Emily, skeptical yet easily persuaded, her gaze flitting nervously towards the darkened windows. Across from them sat Daniel, the quiet one, his face illuminated by the flickering candlelight, a look of apprehension etched upon his features. Completing the group was Maya, the fearless one, her infectious laugh daring anyone to challenge her. Liam's voice was a low murmur, barely audible above the howling wind. His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. The dare was issued. The old iron gates creaked open with a groan, as if disturbed from a slumber centuries old. A chorus of crickets fell silent as the 4 friends stepped onto the grounds of Duskirk Manor. The air grew heavy, laden with the scent of damp earth and decay. A shiver ran down Emily's spine, but she pushed it aside, determined to appear brave. Inside, cobwebs draped the foyer like macabre decorations, and dust lay thick upon the floor, undisturbed by human presence for what seemed like an eternity. Moonlight streamed through the grimy windows, casting long, dancing shadows across the peeling wallpaper. The silence was almost deafening, broken only by the creaking of the house settling around them. Each footstep echoed through the empty halls, amplified in the stillness.
We'll cover more ground if we split up,
Sarah declared, her voice echoing in the vast emptiness of the manor's main hall.
Hesitant. Are you sure that's a good idea?
A flicker of unease crossed Emily's face, but before she could voice her apprehension, Sarah was already halfway up the grand staircase, her footsteps echoing through the silent house.
At least let's stick to pairs. Sarah, you're with me. We'll take the east wing. James, Emily, you guys check out the west.
His words did little to ease the growing sense of unease that had settled over the group. The shadows seemed to deepen as they parted ways, the silence closing in like a suffocating blanket. Emily felt a cold shiver run down her spine, despite the stuffy air. The house was awake, she could feel it, watching, waiting. A mournful melody echoed from the far end of the west wing, stopping Emily and James in their tracks. It was faint at first, barely audible above the creaking of the house. As they moved closer, the music grew louder, filling the hallway with its melancholic tune. It seemed to emanate from a room at the end of the hall, its door slightly ajar.
Whispering, "Do you hear that?"
Nervously. Yes, but where is it coming from?
James, emboldened by a false sense of bravado, pushed the door open. The room was dark, the only source of light emanating from the moon shining through a boarded-up window, and there in the center of the room sat a grand piano, its keys moving, yet devoid of any player. Meanwhile, in the east wing, Sarah and Mark found themselves in the manor's old library. Dusty books lined the walls from floor to ceiling, their leather spines cracked and faded with age. As they moved deeper into the room, the temperature plummeted, a bone-chilling cold settling over them.
Did you feel that? It's freezing in here.
Shivering. Yeah, and look at that. Did you see a wisp of white mist just now?
Sarah swore she saw a wisp of white mist coalesce near a bookshelf, only to disappear as quickly as it had appeared. A piercing scream shattered the silence, echoing through the manor like a physical force. It was Emily. James stood frozen, his blood running cold as the mournful melody from the piano reached a fever pitch, the keys slamming with impossible force. Then just as suddenly, silence.
Panicking Emily.
James stumbled back, his bravado forgotten, replaced by a primal fear. He raced towards the source of the scream, his heart pounding against his ribs. He found Emily at the foot of the grand staircase, her eyes wide with terror, pointing a trembling finger towards the top of the stairs.
Breathless. It was there. I saw it.
Mark and Sarah arrived moments later, drawn by the echoes of Emily's scream. Their faces were ashen, their eyes reflecting the same terror that Emily wore like a mask. They had seen it too. A fleeting glimpse of a figure, shrouded in shadow, standing at the top of the stairs. Its eyes, glowing an eerie white, bored into their very souls. For a moment they stood frozen, caught in the grip of an unseen terror. Then, as if moved by a single shared instinct, they turned and ran. They didn't speak, didn't dare look back. The only sound was the frantic pounding of their hearts and the rasp of their breath as they fled through the darkened halls of Duskirk Manor.
Panting, keep going, don't stop.
The front door loomed ahead, a beacon of hope in the suffocating darkness. James fumbled with the lock, his hands shaking uncontrollably. The door creaked open and they tumbled out into the cold night air, gasping for breath. As they stumbled away from the manor, the first rays of dawn were just beginning to chase away the shadows of the night.
Relieved. We made it. We're out.
They didn't stop running until they were safely back in town, the imposing silhouette of Duskirk Manor receding behind them. They never spoke of that night again, but the memory lingered, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lay hidden beneath the surface of their seemingly ordinary world. The manor remained a silent sentinel at the edge of town, its secrets locked away, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul foolish enough to cross its threshold.